Dr. Elaine Aron first published her book, The Highly Sensitive Person, in 1996. She's since put out some information referring to an underlying mechanism called sensory processing sensitivity. Sensory processing sensitivity is a natural temperament trait in which a person's nervous system is more responsive to internal and external stimuli. It's not a disorder, flaw, or weakness. What does it look like? Noticing details, subtleties, and patterns that others miss. Thinking deeply and processing information thoroughly. Feeling emotions and deeply empathizing strongly. Are being easily overwhelmed by noise, crowds, bright lights, strong smells, or busy environments. Needing more downtime and solitude to recharge. Having a strong inner life and a high moral awareness. Some signs of being an HSP. People call you oversensitive. You feel easily overwhelmed by your senses. Media violence upsets you. You avoid stressful situations. Crowds overwhelm you. You're deeply emotional. You were shy as a child. You feel overwhelmed by tasks. You pick up on nuances. You're incredibly sensitive to pain. Others consider you thoughtful. You aim to please. Are you highly sensitive? She also describes that you will be attracted to depth of processing. You'll frequently experience overstimulation. You'll have emotional responsiveness and high empathy, and sensitive to subtleties and sensory stimuli. How is SPS different than introversion? SPS is about sensitivity. Your nervous system is easily affected by stimulation. Overstimulation can lead to overwhelm. It does not equal introversion, which is about preference, preferring quieter settings and less social stimulation, which is a choice, not a nervous system response. How does it impact daily life? Amazing awareness and intuition, easily overstimulated, requiring intentional self-care, can feel too much in an overstimulating world. It's not about being too sensitive. It's about having a highly sensitive nervous system. So from here, we'll use it interchangeably: HSP, highly sensitive person, and SPS, sensory processing sensitivity. So what do people need with these traits? Downtime and quiet spaces, boundaries and limited exposure to stimuli, understanding and validation, not dismissal, routines and predictability, self-care, movement, being in nature. The gifts are deep insight and creativity, compassion and empathy, strong intuition and discernment, a desire to make the world a better place. You are not too much. You are finely tuned. When you honor your sensitivity, you can thrive. Now let's clarify the difference between SPS and SPD. It's important to distinguish sensory processing sensitivity from sensory processing disorder. While SPS is a personality trait linked to deep processing and emotional responsiveness, SPD is a neurological condition that affects how the brain processes sensory information, often leading to difficulties in daily functioning. So again, SPS is a personality trait and SPD is a neurological condition. SPS means you have a sensitive nervous system that processes more deeply. And SPD means the brain has difficulty receiving, organizing, and responding to sensory information. Differences in sensory integration can cause distress and functional difficulties, affects daily life at home, school, work, or play. Not just sensitive, it impacts ability to cope and function, and it may require accommodations or therapy. Sensory processing sensitivity is a personality trait that can look like being overwhelmed in loud, chaotic, or busy environments, strong empathy and awareness of others, moved by music, art, nature, stories, needing more time alone to rest and reset, reflective, intuitive, and thoughtful. What sensory processing disorder, the neurological condition, can look like: extreme over or under responsiveness to sounds, lights, textures, smells, taste, movement, difficulty with coordination, balance, or body awareness, trouble with transitions, routines, or unexpected changes, avoidance or seeking of certain sensory input in ways that interfere with daily activity, may lead to meltdowns, shutdowns, or anxiety. The impact of SPS can be challenging in a stimulating world, but it's not a disorder. With understanding, support, and self-care, people with sensory processing sensitivity often thrive and bring unique gifts. SPD can make everyday tasks very difficult and may affect learning, behavior, relationships, and self-regulation. Support from professionals and appropriate strategies can make a big difference. The key difference is SPS is about depth. You take in the world more deeply and feel more. It's a trait and part of who you are. SPD is about difficulty. Your brain has trouble processing and responding to sensory input. It's a condition that can be treated. Both are real, both deserve understanding and support. People can have both SPS and SPD. They are separate, but it's possible to experience both. Understanding the difference helps you get the right support and honor your unique makeup. Is being a highly sensitive person with sensory processing sensitivity biological? What the genetics actually show? Yes. Research shows that SPS, often called highly sensitive person, has a genetic underpinnings, but it's not caused by one sensitivity gene. It's a temperament trait shaped by many genes working together in the environment. So what is SPS, or being an HSP? It's a personality temperament trait, as we've been saying, in which a person's nervous system is more responsive to both internal and external stimuli. People high in SPS notice subtleties others miss, process information deeply, are easily overwhelmed, need downtime to recover, and feel emotions more intensely. SPS is real, heritable, and biologically influenced, but not a disorder and not determined by a single gene. It's a normal variation in human sensitivity and responsiveness. More on what the research says. Twin studies. Strong evidence for heritable influence. A large twin study of 2,868 adolescents found that individual difference in environmental sensitivity measured with the highly sensitive child scale were about 47% heritable. Sensitivity to negative experiences and sensitivity to positive experiences were influenced by partly distinct genes. Genetic overlap, shared influences with other traits. A 2024 study in molecular psychiatry showed that genetic influences on environmental sensitivity overlap with autistic traits, especially sensory sensitivity and ease of excitation, and emotional problems and well-being. This means there are some shared genetic factors, but SPS is a distinct trait, not the same as ASD. Not one sensitivity gene, many genes, small effects. Research has explored candidate genes involving neurotransmitters like dopamine and serotonin. Some early studies found associations with dopamine-related genes. A direct 2020 study found no association between SPS and the serotonin transporter gene 5-HTTLPR. Current science points to many genes, each with small effects, not a single HSP gene. Some differences between sensory processing sensitivity, and autism spectrum disorder. They're different constructs, related but not the same. SPS, or being a highly sensitive person, is a temperament trait, and autism spectrum disorder is a neurodevelopmental condition. So let's go to the next slide about this. You can pause to read the rest of this slide. Autism spectrum disorder is a neurodevelopmental condition. I experience the world differently. The highly sensitive person with sensory processing sensitivity has a temperament trait. I feel deeply and notice so much around me. Core features in ASD, one of several. Hyper or hyporeactivity to sensory input, usually or unusual sensory interests, and it can lead to discomfort, avoidance, meltdowns, shutdowns, or sensory seeking of all the main five senses, as well as interoception, vestibular senses, and proprioception. In the category of sensory experience, the HSP person has high sensitivity to both internal and external stimuli. They notice subtleties others may miss. High levels of stimulation can become overwhelming and may require recovery time. They may notice subtle sounds, lights, textures, and smells. Others' moods and emotional shifts, details in the environment, and conversations. The second factor, social communication and interaction. Persistent differences in social communication and interaction is a core diagnostic area in autism. Social emotional reciprocity, differences, nonverbal communication, understanding and expression, understanding relationships, understanding social rules or intentions that are explicit or implicit. For the highly sensitive person, they usually understand social cues and reciprocity, but can become overwhelmed or emotionally drained by intense, prolonged, or highly stimulating social interaction. They may experience a need for downtime after social situations, and they may have a preference for depth over small talk, and deep care and intuitive understanding of others. Next, the category of empathy. In autism spectrum, empathy can look different and varies widely. Some autistic people may find it hard to identify or interpret others' perspectives, while others have a very strong emotional empathy and care deeply. The highly sensitive person is often associated with heightened emotional responsiveness and sensitivity to others' feelings and the emotional climate around them. They may experience a strong emotional impact from others' distress, compassion, and concern, absorbing the emotions in the environment. Four, interests and focus. In autism, there are restricted or highly focused interests as a core feature, along with other patterns. Their interests may be intense and all-consuming, very specific or unusual, provide enjoyment, expertise, regulation, or predictability, often accompanied by repetitive behaviors or routines. For the highly sensitive person or a person with SPS, they may notice subtle details others miss, reflect deeply on experiences, appreciate complexity, nature, art, meaning, and nuance, and have varied interests, not necessarily narrow or repetitive. Pause to read this slide, which will also be in a blog post, that shows how someone with SPS, who's a highly sensitive person, may look like they meet the autism criteria or may not. And pause to read the B criteria in the autism diagnosis to see how someone with HSP may look like they have autism or may not.